Alright, another fake Grindhouse trailer gets a real film adaptation. I'm game. So Thanksgiving first started out as one of the fake trailers on Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's double feature Grindhouse. Those fake trailers were pretty awesome, and that is in fact where Machete comes from. And after what seems like eons of production and years of hearing about how Thanksgiving was going to be an actual movie, Thanksgiving is now in fact an actual movie. I gotta be honest, the beginning of this movie was actually kind of brilliant. It's Thanksgiving evening, Black Friday is upon us because as addressed in the film, as well as seen in real life, Black Friday starts on a Thursday now. And it becomes absolute chaos. I was enthralled. I was like, this is the film. I mean, it's not the film. The film's actually a completely different style of film, which is a slasher flick. But the setup of this film being executed as a horror film in which hordes of customers on Black Friday are just trampling each other. I could personally go for an entire film of that. A Black Friday zombie apocalypse vibe horror film as seen and experienced from customer service employees in a store. Because I've been there. I've worked Black Friday. It is in fact hell, and people are indeed the worst versions of themselves. But that's just the setup. 1 year later, someone's dressed up on Thanksgiving and killing people with an axe. I've always had kind of a soft spot for those post-Scream 90s or post-90s, but throwing back to the 90s teen slasher films, all trying to be Scream. And I gotta say, unlike a lot of those other ones, the kills in Thanksgiving are actually pretty awesome. They were gory and bloody, but in a fun kind of way, not in a Gorno kind of way until later. I'll get to it in a second. It has what you expect from Scream wannabe slasher flick kills, but also with that fun execution of Final Destination deaths. The stuff that sticks with you, because when you see that when you're driving on the freeway, oh, you think of it too. How are the characters? They're cannon fodder. They're there to die. I don't give a shit about them. Probably should, but I didn't. They're most interesting when they're suspects, when you're like, maybe you're the killer. That's when you give a shit about them the most, and then you're like, all right, maybe not, I don't die for all I give a fuck. Which is really a bummer, because usually in a movie like this, there's at least one character you latch onto. You're like, you're the one carrying me through this. Nope, zero fucks given. Unless they're getting killed, and I'm like, oh hey, what's up? Fun. Then the third act happens, and all things being Eli Roth, it shifts into ridiculous and gross. I get it in terms of execution of the third act. There are things from the fake trailer that are in here, and that's why they're in here. Everything leading up to that was actually a really fun and bloody slasher flick. The third act was definitely directed by the guy who directed Hostel. Not that the third act is ever as gross as Hostel, but it does have a bit of that vibe. It's like Eli Roth's like, great, but has anyone vomited while their mouth is gagged in this movie? No? Then we still got work to do. Also, that third act does go on for a bit too long. I was like, and it hasn't ended. Oh, and we're still going. That would have been a nice ending. 90 minutes, folks. It should have been 90 minutes. Internet has it as an hour 46. One thing that probably would have helped this film when it comes to cheese and dialogue is that Grindhouse vibe. Film scratches, the distortion, to make it feel like Grindhouse was this 35mm print that just got beat to shit and put through the ringer. I get why it wasn't in here, because Grindhouse had a lot of marketing explaining what that vibe was and why it is in the movie. It's been a minute since Grindhouse. Like, fuck, has it been 16 years? I just did the math. If a kid was born then, he could drive now. I don't bye. I'm out. Bye! I'm not gonna sleep well. I got my cane right here. You darn kids. When this comes out on home release, I would love for there to be a version available that does have that Grindhouse distortion. Because this movie does have a cheese factor that lends itself to that, both with dialogue and otherwise. I don't know, I miss the throwback. I really liked Grindhouse and the kind of throwback it was, with the style it had. Plus, a person and a movie should not forget where they came from. Look, in the end, the fact is, I'm not a big fan of Eli Roth's work, personally. His movies are just not my thing, no other way to say it. That said, this is absolutely the most enjoyable Eli Roth film I've seen in about 2 decades. Third act flaws aside, the first couple acts, I was really into this thing. If you're an Eli Roth fan, you're probably gonna eat up every frame. If you're not an Eli Roth fan, the first 2 acts might actually surprise you. I mean, if you're not an Eli Roth fan, but you're still a slasher flick fan. I mean, if you don't like Eli Roth or bloody slasher movies, don't watch this. It's as simple as that. Like, there's no way around that. I'm gonna put this one over the edge, man. I'm gonna say I had a surprisingly bloody fun time. No alcohol required. I mean, it's probably a lot better with friends and booze, so it probably should be a good time if you're drunk. All right, so Thanksgiving, have you seen it? What did you think about it? What's your favorite post-Scream slasher film? 90s and 2000s were littered with them. Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.